The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read. Your source for news, politics, sports, and all things trending. Here's your host, Marcus Gentry.
It's just bananas to me.
I want to welcome you guys to the Daily Read, and I am your host, Marcus Gentry. Got a light in here. We're going to have a good show today, people. Fresh and going through. All right. We got Fresh and Fit going through baby mama drama. We got a town in Alabama that hasn't had an election in 60 years. 60 years. Set of two stories that caught my eye while scanning the internet. Get my reaction to it. Especially with the political climate we have. Yeah, in America right now. How can a town go 60 years without an election? This is some stuff where you say only in Mississippi or Alabama. Let's jump right into it.
The Daily Read. Your source for news, politics, sports, and all things trending. Here's your host, Marcus Gentry.
Everything, and it's just like
they don't know everything.
Chilling, relaxing.
They're just, they got all this to say, you know what I mean? And the reality is, man, we pay a lot of people's bills, man. Like people say, "Oh, Fresh and Fit," like you're only irrelevant. But as soon as something happens, all you guys do, "Oh, let me talk about Fresh and Fit. Oh, look at this. Did you hear about this?"
And isn't it funny?
Crazy.
A 3 or 4 is telling a story, and they believe it.
And all the simps are believing
line and sinker without any talk from me at all.
Nothing.
Isn't that,
they didn't hear your side. They believe it automatic.
But they like to hate. They want to hate me. I get it. But without the facts, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Speculating.
Speaking of facts, we got a special guest in the house, matter of fact.
Yes, we do.
Brought in the big guns for this one because we knew.
Best attorney for divorce and family matters, James Sexton in the house.
He's calling in from New York.
Yes. Gentlemen, it's all fun and games until the lawyer shows up, you know?
This guy right here.
Obviously, we ain't messing around on this one because, I mean,
it's serious.
Obviously, we were making some jokes on last week or whatever about it, but no, man, I mean, this is some pretty serious stuff. So
yeah. This is this is as serious gets. I appreciate you guys having me on. I've been talking to both of you for quite some time, and as soon as I can get myself out of a courtroom into Miami, I'm excited to spend some time with you. But
please do.
Yeah, when I spoke to Walter earlier today, I said, all right, well, you know what? I think I got to jump on and be the one to say a few things because I know he is dying to say a whole bunch of things, and a lot of those things he got to discuss with me that are subject to attorney-client privilege. But to then share them with the world right now is a challenging kind of a thing and would be absolutely against my advice. Sorry to spoil the party to everyone who wanted to hear all the salacious details at this moment. However, there are some things that need to be said, and I'm happy to say them. What I'll say, first of all, is you know what? I have good news and I have bad news. You've had a hell of a week, so I'm going to let you pick what you want first. You want the good news first? You want the bad news first?
Man, it's been tough, bro. Yo, just give me good news, bro. Here's the good news, man.
Good news? Okay. Yeah. Here's the good news. There's a lot of question as to when a man can truly say he's successful. You know, I have a client who's worth $8 billion. I represent professional athletes, celebrities, primarily because I'm based in New York City. I represent a lot of people in finance, hedge fund people, crypto people. And there's always a question about when are you really successful? Is it your first 10 million when you become an 8-figure kind of guy? Is it the first time you buy a Lambo and you pay cash for it? Is it the first time you fly private? Is it the first time you buy a jet? Is it when is it? And what I will say as someone who's been practicing family law for 25 years is a man is really not truly successful until the 304s come out of the woodwork and say, I have your baby. I'm pregnant with your baby. I need to talk to you about the baby. What are we going to do about the baby? And surprisingly, instead of having that conversation like a civilized human being with a working prefrontal.
Because what he said was kind of true. But then again, scale. doesn't just happen on that scale. It also happens good rich. Might not be a millionaire, might have more money than around you or around you. So when you get in a situation like that, these women know they'll never be able to advance, connect with a multimillionaire so they get the next best thing. And then you got the case of some people just accidents. All of that stuff don't be just accident. Let's continue on.
Cortex, most of the time what they choose to do is to post it on social media because that's absolutely what a good future mom potentially or rational human being who's not just looking to shake someone down for money would do. You'd go right to social media. It certainly isn't the kind of thing a clout-chasing no one would do. So ultimately, I want to congratulate you. That's the good news, is that you have officially arrived, my friend, and you are sitting among some of the greatest, most celebrated, wealthiest people in the world, many of whom I have represented, but you never heard anything really about it other than the little momentary blip that it came up, if at all, because they did what is now unfortunately going to be the bad news. And that is there are two words, my friend, that are not in your vocabulary currently, and they haven't been for years, and it's the reason why you're successful. But you need to repeat those two words after me, so let's practice together right now. Ready? No.
No.
Comment.
Oh, comment. Okay.
This is a good lawyer. He's trying to get this man advice because he's probably seen hundreds of it's probably hundreds of kids out here mixing and mingling amongst us who are kids to multimillionaires, doctors, lawyers, movie stars, entertainers that you would never even know about. You might go to high school with them. You might go to, might work next to him at a factory. And this guy right here, he's the lawyer for these people where they don't talk about it. The money's paid up front for the child. Everything just disappears. Wild out here. I want to give a shout out to Anthony Spade. He has a good program. You guys go check him out.
Okay.
No.
No.
Comment.
All right.
Okay, so you've got to learn to say that.
Wait.
And it's really unfortunate because I know you are dying to talk about many of the things, many of the counter narrative, the facts as opposed to the fictions, the way that things are weaponized and weaponized inappropriately, the massive holes in stories, that there's a lot to be discussed. But revenge is a dish best served cold.
Wait,
right now,
okay.
There are civil and criminal penalties for the kinds of behaviors that we're looking at right now. So I want you, as your counsel, and again, you're free to ignore my advice. Plenty of times people ignore my advice, and sometimes I'm grateful when they do it because it creates a lot more chaos, which makes me a lot more money. Peace does not make me any money. Chaos makes me money. But I'm telling you, my advice to you, and I've said this to you earlier privately, is there has to be, for the moment, no specific comment. There really has to be, because the level of issues that are being caused right now by a third party in terms of what they are exposing themselves to. There's an old saying, never interrupt the enemy when they're in the process of committing suicide. And this is a situation where you are, as much as I know, you are dying to get the counter narrative and the facts out there, the reality out there, as opposed to the garbage that's out there right now.
Yeah.
An intelligent, strategic, successful man knows that irrationality, impulsivity, and emotionalism are luxuries reserved for the ladies. They are not for an intelligent, strategic, thoughtful man who is making tactical moves on the advice of counsel. So that is my little rant. That is my little caveat. And I'm glad you gave me the chance to say.
I got to say one thing, though.
Yeah.
First and foremost,
we do have the phone call.
We do have the phone call, but I will say this: I personally should not have nutted within a 304 like this. Now, granted, things happen, whether true or not. But like you said, James, I'll keep my mouth shut because I have some info here I want to share with the chat.
This record, I have to tell you, the recording we are discussing, and in all of these situations, when there is a recording of this kind, which there always is, because why would you be recording the conversation unless you plan to use that to stick somebody up?
Yeah.
Normal, rational human beings who are acting in good faith don't record their conversations, especially too when they're being mindful of the fact that there's a difference between a one-party state and a two-party state when it comes to consent for recordings, and that, again, it's a felony in the state of Florida to record a conversation without the consent of the other party. And if you then publish it, that's a separate felony. So that's 2 felonies for the price of 1. But again, the reality here is, if you want to play the recording, go ahead. People have heard it. People have listened to it. You know what? Congratulations. You're important enough of a person that people actually pay attention when someone's talking about you. And that is in and of itself an accomplishment. There are a whole lot of guys right now who a girl is calling them and saying, I'm having a baby and it's definitely yours. And nobody cares. No one would care. No one's interested. Everyone's just looking at it going, okay, whatever. It happens. The reality is, in your situation, everybody's very interested in this. Everybody wants to talk about it. But again, the reality for you is there are civil and criminal remedies for the kinds of things that are happening here.
Yeah.
And they're not to be leveled at you. So if we want to listen to that recording, you want to play that recording for anybody who's been under a rock and didn't get to hear it, fine. The only context I would give before playing it is listen to it. Is that a normal conversation? Is this a conversation of a woman who is having a sincere conversation with a human being? Or is this someone who knows that they're recording this? And when you know you're the one who's recording the conversation and that you can change it, modify it, splice it, edit it, you don't hear what was on the call before, you don't hear what was on the call after. And to be candid, guys, I don't know if anybody realizes we're living in 2024. I can't tell you how many times I've been in a courtroom where there is audio that we've had to have digital forensic experts come in, spend $30,000 to show that it was modified audio. You can go right now. There's any number of products available right now from OpenAI, ChatGPT, all the various companies that are doing this type of work, where you can take small snippets of someone's audio and you can have this person saying 5 or 10 sentences, and then you can literally dub anything that's to be said. And I have to tell you, you may not know it, guys, there's a lot of recordings of you talking out there. I could put together if you said almost any word in the English language, I could find an example of you saying it.
Good Lord.
So again, I think it's very, very important, if you're going to listen to this or any recording of some poor innocent young woman who's calling some fellow and just happens to be recording it and just happens to be making sure that when she's having that conversation, she seems like something of a victim in the situation and keeps steering the situation in directions that would make for good internet publication. When you listen to it with that ear. See if it sounds a little bit different.
Let's play it just for the audience to kind of,
Sure.
because it's kind of actually crazy when you listen to it, and it's amazing that like people don't have the critical thinking skills to not see that clearly this was like intentional. And it's funny because she made this phone call and then literally within minutes it's up on Instagram.
And I have to tell you,
I was like, what the hell?
I could have dubbed this call because as I'm listening, I'm going, oh yeah, it's this one. Like I have listened now to 50 of these from professional athletes, influencers, hedge fund guys, top name surgeons in the city at top hospitals. I mean, it really is. Successful men have a target on their back. And this is one of the most classic old school shakedowns. This is one of those ones that, again, I could do the phone call. Like I could have told you, I listened to it and I was like, oh yeah, it's that. It's like she went in and picked like menu option A, and that's the call. It's like, I could, if it wasn't breaking attorney-client privilege, I got about a...
Let me explain what he mean by that. They got websites out here now that you can literally, AI, to have a conversation with someone. And I explore AI a little bit, ChatGPT. and it's truly amazing. But you can tell if you are so slow that you can't tell there's something wrong with this audio, you might need to get your ears checked. Jump back into it. Listen to this recorder.
Half a dozen celebrities that you've probably seen in films and TV that I'd put you in touch with, and they'd go, "Oh yeah, I got that call. I remember that call. Her name was Janet. You know, oh, I remember that call. That was Kiki. You know, and that's how it is. And by the way, you guys live in the city where those calls always come from. I don't know what it is about Miami. Maybe that's why I haven't come on. I'm afraid I'm going to show up in Miami and suddenly I'll get out of the airplane and someone will claim they're pregnant with my child. Like, I'm afraid that will happen instantly when I get off of the plane at MIA airport.
That's crazy.
Sorry.
No worries. We'll run it real quick, and then I know Fresh can't talk as much, but I'll give a little bit of my commentary because I haven't said anything about this shit either, and obviously. Let's just play the call real fast. Yeah. Let's just play it.
Go for it.
Obviously, I know that there's legal proceedings going on. Oh, go ahead, Bills. My bad.
All right.
I want the baby because I don't want to kill the baby. I don't want to kill nobody. I don't want to.
You're not. They just give you a pill and then it's over.
No. I'm pregnant.
No, but that's what I'm saying. The pill, they just give it to you from a doctor and then you're good.
I am pregnant. I can't pretending like nothing happened. I can't. In my religion, we don't.
Okay.
I want to keep the baby.
Okay. Well, like I said, I just don't want any kids. You know?
Okay, so what you gonna do? And what you gonna do to me?
Nothing.
Let me pause that right there. What are you gonna do to me? I don't know how they get their finances, fresh and fit, but these are wealthy men. And they're always talking about 304s and the state of relationships and dating in America. Obviously, this woman is a 304. Now, he been dealing with this woman for a while. It seems like somebody done set him up through her, this whole baby thing, trying to set him up. Listen carefully.
Well, why did I do anything to you?
Nothing.
Why did I do anything to you?
No, I know. So, like, how are you gonna deal with this? By saying I don't want a baby? That's all?
I mean, I could go to the doctor, I guess.
To the doctor. So you want solution?
I mean, yeah. Why do you want a kid now?
And why do you make me pregnant now?
That's what I'm like, there's no way that's true. But then it's like, oh, wow. Like.
So just think about it. It's meant to be. God wants you to have the baby.
Definitely not.
It is. God wants you to have a baby. 7 years never happened. And then you're seeing me for a month and I'm pregnant. What does that mean?
Well,
now I just think about it, if you force me to the baby, then you're a sin.
Well, we already sinned by having sex. But it's too late now, you know?
Pause.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys noticed, but she's using extreme language and she's calling, saying, I don't want to do this.
See, what he just said in extreme language. When you've talked to somebody on the phone for years, and then all of a sudden they get talking crazy, or you know how a person speaks, what he's saying basically is, this was unusual speak for her. This is crazy. He been knowing this woman for 7 years. And this is a true definition of a whore, not just laying on your back having sex. When you have other people that can influence you to attack someone else, especially if you've been around this person for years. You know this person. You done broke bread with this person. You know how this person moves, how this person reacts.
etc. And she's fishing for a response, right? It's very obvious. And the thing too is that, like,
let me pause that again. One more thing needs to be said about that. The whole baiting you thing. When you try to bait somebody, sometimes the people that throw out the bait break laws. And if you take the bait and get arrested or get in violation of something, all the laws they broke, it seemed like people look over that. This is what he's saying. The whole baiting you thing. This is crazy.
I mean, I know this. Like, there was an agreement that they weren't going to ever have kids. Like, but why is she calling now saying, oh, I'm pregnant?
It's so funny because how she's talking, I'm like shocked because I'm like, normally you don't talk like this.
Yeah.
It's more like, it's like.
Remember what I said earlier? He been knowing this woman for 7 years. He knows she doesn't talk like this. Either somebody was in the room with her listening or on the phone listening. They was trying to bait him. Like I said, I don't know what these guys are into. You know, for all I know, they could be a part of a mob or anything. But whatever it was, they was trying to bait him through her. Watch yourself, fellas.
It's following a script.
Yeah.
Almost. But I'm like.
And it's good on your part because you didn't really say too much.
Nah.
But it's.
I'm like, wait, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So
again, there was an agreement that they weren't gonna like have kids or anything.
The plight of Black Americans in this country.
I'm gonna pause there before we move on to the next segment. Like I said, go to Anthony Spade's channel. He has a pretty good channel, and he talks about some real stuff. But this whole baiting you thing, the new thing in America with all this AI, internet going on and stuff like that. And you really find out that people that's been around you for years really didn't like you. I wouldn't be surprised that Fresh finds out later on in life that Fit is the one who set all this up. This guy right here. Think about that. He knows all the girls he's messing with. This is some deep stuff. For all we know, he could be wanting to go solo. So if he can get Fresh hemmed up on something, he can go solo. This is crazy. This is what's going on in this country. I'm not saying that Fit had anything to do with this, but I see patterns. Fresh has somebody around him that set that up. He been screwing this woman for 7 years. 7. He knows how she talks. He knows how she moves. He knows her body. He's seen her naked and everything. Now all of a sudden a baby done popped up and she's asking questions on the phone like, you know, what are you going to do to me? What kind of question is that? Let's move on to the next subject. There's a town in Alabama. There's a town in Alabama that hasn't had an election in 60. And this is another program I watch a lot. Pretty good show. Jesse Dollamore. And this guy right here, man, he's funny. He's funny as hell. I think he was a lawyer. But the guy right here, he got a good show. Let's listen to what he got to say.
Black Americans, descendants of slaves. I get pushback. The social justice warrior, whatever nonsense. And people will say, well, the reason they're not owed, black descendants of enslaved human beings, the reason they're not owed anything is because they weren't slaves. They haven't had it bad. I'm
going to stop that right there. I don't believe in reparations, but not because of what he's saying. I don't believe in reparations, not because we were not slaves, we're not owed nothing. But the reason I don't believe in reparations is because there's too many black Americans who are not the great-grandsons and great-granddaughters of slaves in this country. And you start giving out reparations, you're going to start having people like 21 Savage, who was actually born in Britain. He's an Englishman. Speaks like us, talks like us, raps like us. He lives in Atlanta, but he's not originally the son of an American slave. You're going to have guys like him going down here trying to get reparations. Then you're going to have Chinese people, Mexican people. That money for reparations is going to come from somewhere. It's going to come from tax money. Okay? So if I pay taxes, Chinese man pay taxes. He wasn't here during slavery times. Korean guy pays taxes. That reparations money is coming out of somebody's pocket. When they supposed to have paid reparations, they should have did it when they freed the slaves. When Abraham Lincoln signed that paper about Declaration, Proclamation, and all that, they should have gave reparations then. Because now you got so many Africans that talk like us, walk like us, dress like us. But when you go home and meet their parents are from Africa. Their parents are from India. Their parents are from other countries that wasn't involved in the whole slave thing. So what that's going to do is, when you start handing out this reparations and you start weeding through people that are black and giving out reparations to certain people, then you got the problem with white people. White people are having kids by black people. So you got a white mother who has 2 black kids. Maybe she was married to a white man and had a child by a white man. And then she married a black guy and had 2 kids by a black guy. What you're causing is a whole bunch of divide in family structure. When you start giving out reparations, you're going to have a divide in the community to where, like, I'm going to go back to 21 Savage. He might get a female mad who's actually supposed to get reparations, and she's going to go down there and report him and say, hey, I don't like how he did me. He got a baby on the way, and he's down there getting a reparation check. He's not supposed to get that check. So now you got problems, because now you're going to have law enforcement going knocking on his door, asking him, why are you getting this reparations? You're not supposed to have that. Some deep stuff. But I understand what he's saying. He's trying to get reparations for black Americans. I get it. But is America ready for the fallback from? Let's keep going.
There's no oppression anymore. We're a whole different society. We're post-racial. We elected a black guy as president. It's just bananas to me. And then every once in a while, we learn of something that is still going on in the state of Alabama, New Bern, Alabama in this case, where they haven't held elections in their town for like 60 years. And the mayorship gets handed down.
How was that even possible? Listen to what he says. 60 years they haven't had an election in that town. 60 years. How was that even possible?
From father to son over generations, as though this is not America. As though this is not America in 2024. That black people are still being boxed out of the electoral process, boxed out of representative government. This little town in Alabama is roughly 80% black, and the mayor, always white. The mayor currently is this guy whose father before him was the mayor. Not elected, appointed. Madiba Denny wrote this article that I'm going to read. I would go follow her on Twitter. Fantastic. Tracking this lawsuit that's happening right now. And I want to bring this story to your attention, and I want you to share this video. I want you to bring light to this story because people need to know. I mean, it's incumbent upon us with the knowledge to illuminate stories like this so people do know that shit like this still goes on. This is the article from Madiba Denny. A small Alabama town stopped holding elections in 1965. Black residents are begging a federal court to change that. In a federal judiciary controlled by conservatives, the best liberals can hope for is a judge who thinks basic principles of democratic governance still matter. That is a hell of a headline. It is a hell of a thing. It must be, I can only imagine, to go through as a black American, go through your life in this country, God forbid doing it in Alabama or Mississippi or Louisiana, Georgia, Florida, Texas, name any other Republican-controlled state, doesn't have to be in the Southeast. But going through your life knowing that so many of your fellow Americans, your fellow citizens, do not value your participation in our democracy, don't value your life experience, your lived experience, it doesn't matter to them how you've lived, how you've been treated, and your opinion doesn't matter to try to shape governance, to try to shape how we live and how we govern ourselves. Here's the article. In 1965, Congress passed the Voting Rights Act, a landmark statute designed to dramatically increase black people's participation in electoral politics after centuries of slavery, segregation, and second-class citizenship.
Pause that right there. This is what I mean when I say, how is this possible? How in the hell is it possible for a town to get away for 60 years without having an election for the mayor and the city council? That is crazy. And then part of that is the reason why you got states like Alabama that still treat its citizens like second-class citizens. There's no telling how many towns in America that this is going on. And I'm gonna play devil's advocate. I'm gonna say something about the blacks that live around there. Okay? How did you let it go on so long without filing paperwork? Now, if it comes out that for 30, 40 years you've been filing federal paperwork, trying to figure out how is this man passing down the mayorship to his son and his grandson, that's on the federal level. That's their fault because they dropped the ball on that. But if y'all been sitting back for 60 years and letting this go on without having, and 80% of that town is black. So you mean to tell me 80% of that town is black, and for 60 years, y'all have never had a black mayor, never ran for mayor, city council, or none of that? This is crazy. Get back into it.
In Alabama, a small town in which 2/3 of 133 residents are black.
The Daily Read.
We believe is owed to black Americans. Matter. That is a hell of a headline. It is a hell of a thing. In place of a democratically elected government, the town, which is located about an hour south of Tuscaloosa, has been ruled by a small group of white people who handpick their mayoral and town council in a form of hand-me-down governance. In recent years, some of New Bern's residents have sought to change that. In a recent filing in federal court, the residents argue that the town's failure to hold elections violates residents' rights under the Voting Rights Act and the Constitution, and asked the court to order the town to hold an election by November 2024. Imagine being in America in 2024 and having a town that thinks it's some kind of a weird monarchy ruled by white people, this guy, again, and that we don't need democracy here. We don't need to let the people who actually live in this municipality make the decisions. Nah. It's Goober and Cletus.
I'm going to stop there right there. This goes back to the robber barons. Robber barons were people so wealthy in their community that they could literally, their son or daughter could literally drive down the road doing 80 miles an hour in a 30 and hit your child. And the police, when they come to the scene, won't even arrest that person. They'll send that person home, call his father. His father might run a factory that employs 80% of the people in that town, like a cotton gin or a farm or something. And he has so much money flowing through that town that they're scared to arrest this man whose son has just killed your child. This goes back to that, the robber barons. This is a throwback. And for 60 years, something like this has happened. Crazy.
And Cletus's dad, and Goober's dad, he decides. It's the firstborn son. The case is striking for multiple reasons, including most obviously the absurdity of purported government's departure from fundamental democratic principles. It is also a stark reminder of the real-world impact of federal courts in a political and legal system dominated by reactionary conservatives. Liberals are asking judges for small victories, launching last-ditch efforts to access basic rights under the Constitution. Conservatives, in contrast, are aiming much higher. For them, courts are a testing ground for novel ways to curtail rights nationwide. In federal trial courts, conservatives are having their cake and eating it too, while liberals are begging for crumbs. The plaintiff in this case is Patrick Braxton, a black New Bern resident who in 2020 filed the actual long-ignored paperwork to run for mayor. As the only legally qualified candidate, he won by default and tried to appoint a town council accordingly. The existing town council responded by convening a secret meeting during which it decided to conduct the town's first ever special election. Telling no one about the new quote-unquote election, the previous mayor, get a load of this, it's not Cletus, it's not Goober, it's Haywood Woody Stokes III. Haywood Woody Stokes III and his council effectively reappointed themselves to their jobs.
That's crazy. I didn't know about this. This is extra. This man actually won an election. He won the election. And the people that was already in power elected themselves.
Stokes and his cronies have since repeatedly changed the locks at Town Hall as a part of the refusal to transfer power to the legitimate officials. They have also denied Braxton access to the town's bank account, forcing him to run food distribution drives and otherwise carry out his mayoral duties using his own funds.
There's no telling what's in that bank account. They probably running all kinds of scams.
In the lawsuit, the plaintiffs are asking the court to install Braxton as the town's rightful mayor. Quote, allowing the defendants to continue their hand-me-down governance violates the basic tenets of democracy and state law, they write. In the meantime, they say, Stokes, remember, Haywood Woody Stokes III, Stokes is ignoring basic requests from his black constituents. Although their homes occasionally flood with raw sewage, he's refused to support the installation of a proper sewage system. The simple request in this case, can we have a local election, please, is a far cry from the triumphant ask being asked by conservative legal movement lawyers in federal courtrooms all across the country. You see, as much talk as there is about lawfare and the two-tiered justice system, they're right. It's just not going the way they say it goes. It's not that Donald Trump is the victim and white rich men are the victim. It's black people in towns like New Bern, Alabama. It's clear, self-evident, some would say, that this is still going on. So tell me again, skeptics of reparations, tell me again, people who act like we live in a post-racial society, tell me again that we do. Tell me again, convince me of your argument. I'm dying to hear it. When it's 2024 and there are still towns in the deep South that don't even hold elections and haven't since decades, over a decade before I was born.
Crazy.
No. We live in a representative democracy, a constitutional republic by which our representatives are elected, but not in New Bern, Alabama, with Cletus the Goober Woody Carabiner. Come on. Follow Madiba Denny on Twitter. I will link below to this lawsuit, the website to this lawsuit, or the actual filing. If you want to read it, I would encourage you to do so. It'll all be linked below. What do you think? I'd love to know. You can call, leave me a brief voicemail, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me the old-fashioned way. You know, like elections used to be old-fashioned.
I'm going to end this show today. You know, like I said, go to Anthony Spade's YouTube channel. Check him out. Got some good content. And go to Jesse Dollamore. Dollamore has some good content also. But it's crazy how 60 years they haven't had an election. Good old boys have been running that show for 60 years. And the bad thing about it is the minorities in that community, you know, they just let it go on. Until that one guy stood up and ran for mayor. And I wonder how many threats and you know, bad things have been coming around him and his family. There's no telling. Well, this is the Daily Read, and I'm out.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
Business.